Welcome to the Final Days channel. Today is January 5th, 2022. Today you will see several different moons and planets that are all very close to Earth, which are being hidden in a variety of ways. These images all came from the Federal Aviation weather cameras within the past few days, so they are very recent. In these videos, each frame is 10 minutes apart. I will also share with the viewers another open vision from the Lord regarding the end of time. Our first video comes from the southeast-facing weather camera located in Aspen, Colorado. An enormous planet is hidden behind these wispy-looking clouds, which contain trillions of microscopic metallic particles to block viewing of these celestial objects. These metallic particles all settle into the soil and water. The November 13th video discusses the deadly levels of metal in once pristine mountaintop lakes and streams in the California mountains. It's really sad. An article described the aluminum levels in these mountain lakes being 5,000 times the toxicity level considered poisonous. And this water is killing the wildlife. These same toxicity levels are found worldwide. From the Petersburg, Alaska camera, there are two planets ready to eclipse the sun. A black beam is emitted prior to the eclipse, which is usually not captured on these cameras because they only take a picture once every 10 minutes, and the black beam only lasts a few seconds. But here we see two planets, one much larger than the other. The Edna Bay, Alaska camera captured a very red planet. The jet is always present during an eclipse. The pink reflection of the jet appears from the right as we move through these frames. And as always, if we draw a line from the pink reflection of the jet to the black dot center of the manufactured light, the eclipsing planet always falls upon that line, without exception. The southeast-facing camera in that same area shows us a slightly different angle of the very same red planet. This planet is much smaller than many of the other planets we do see on these FAA weather cameras. Its obvious rotation is proof that this cannot be a lens flare of the sun, because our sun only rotates once every 27 Earth days. These images, with contrast applied, make its fast rotation very easy to see. These are signs that we are living in the very, very last days. We're living in the last minute of the last hour of the last days. Here is an entirely different red planet captured by the south-facing camera in Kazan, Alaska. This one has an obvious rotation also, so we know it's not a lens flare of the sun. We know this is a different planet than what we just saw in the Edna Bay camera because the texture is completely different. Look at the texture on this. It's very interesting. This object has a very heavily cratered surface, making its rotation very obvious. Once again, we see the concealment jet that works in combination with other equipment to hide these daily multiple eclipses. These are signs that we are living in the very, very last days. The camera at Hawk Inlet, Alaska shows us the light emitter on the left side of the screen. And below that, notice in the water that you'll see the reflection of that light emitter. Also present in this camera, or in this photo, is the concealment jet near the center and its pink reflection on the very right. So there's a lot going on in this image if you study it. In the Bible's book of Luke, chapter 21, verse 25, Jesus tells us that we will see signs in the sky when the end is near. In Sitka, Alaska, we see the same red planet that we saw a couple minutes ago on the Edna Bay cameras. This planet becomes hidden behind the clouds, proving that it cannot be a lens flare of the sun. Lens flares of the sun can never go behind clouds or other structures in a picture or video. These are all signs that we are living in the very last days according to the Holy Bible. Here is some older footage of that same object from that same camera that some of you may have seen in the past. This leads me to believe that this object is in rotation around our Earth, just like a moon, since it shows up on the same cameras every day. I like this video because it shows the black beam which is emitted prior to an eclipse, and all the colorful reflections of the equipment used to conceal these daily multiple eclipses. In this frame, we see a nice, crisp image of the bell-shaped projector's reflection, and also a reflection of the planet that is eclipsing the sun. As always, the manufactured light passes in front of these eclipsing planets, while the real sun is far, far behind, 93 million miles away, and this completely conceals these eclipses. We see the manufactured light emitter at the very last frame here, and its reflection on the water. And, as always, if we draw a line from the light emitter to the pink reflection of the jet, the eclipsing planet always falls upon that line. The east-facing camera at Minks Island, Alaska, shows an enormous planet hidden by the atmospheric chemicals. It is nearly invisible without contrast, and even with contrast, it's very tough to see through the atmospheric chemicals. This planet has an obvious rotation if you look closely, so this tells us it cannot be a lens flare of the sun. The sun is currently being eclipsed. This is why the reflection of the manufactured light appears as a very skinny line on this metallic roof. This is the south-facing camera at St. Mary's, Alaska. The sun is being eclipsed right now by a massive planet, which we will see in just a moment from the southeast-facing camera at this same location. Here is the footage showing the massive eclipsing planet from the southeast-facing camera at St. Mary's. It's nearly invisible, so look really carefully. It's buried behind those atmospheric chemicals, but contrast does help to bring out just a couple frames. If we eliminate the glare from the contrasted area, we can actually see the top portion of this planet much better. Does it look familiar? This is the planet in the thumbnail. This view of this same planet was captured by the Pilot Point, Alaska camera. Usually the atmospheric chemicals completely hide this planet from view, but once in a while I get lucky and I find it on one of these cameras if it hasn't been removed. Most of these images are removed from these cameras before I have access to them, so I only get what they miss. And before I close, I wanted to share with you an open vision that the Lord gave to a friend of mine who has asked to not have his name mentioned. I know this person, so I trust his information enough to share it with you. Please note that he had this vision long before he saw any of these videos. His vision was an image of the earth, surrounded by planets of all sizes. And during this vision, the Lord told him that these planets were trapping the enemy in, the fallen angels. The enemy is not able to leave this earth in their flying vehicles because they are trapped here by the planets surrounding this earth. Even though the enemy exists in a higher dimension than we do, they do not fly through three-dimensional planets, he was told during this vision. Well, the Lord told me exactly this very same thing over a year ago. So this vision confirms what God told me, that the enemy is trapped here and they cannot leave. Part, not all, but only part of God's wrath, the Great Tribulation, will be the destruction brought by this foreign solar system that has now intermingled with ours. In Luke chapter 21, verse 36, Jesus says, "Watch therefore and pray always, that you may be counted worthy to escape all these things that will come to pass." Jesus is referring to God's wrath. He is saying that those who are counted worthy will escape all God's wrath. To be counted worthy, we must be living in holiness. A link in the description box below discusses what holiness is and how to achieve it. Many places in the Bible promise us that those living in holiness are not appointed to God's wrath. God will be removing his faithful praying remnant before his wrath is poured out upon a world full of sin and abomination. This removal of his faithful praying remnant is often referred to as the rapture. These next few screens will tell you how to accept Christ into your life and escape the soon coming wrath. Thanks everyone for watching.